New delivery today. So this is a RD250 frame or a 400. Nicely wrapped. This is the way it should be done, so that it won't get damaged, and also more importantly so that it doesn't damage the postie when he's delivering it. So here we have it, the RD250-350 frame. I basically cleaned up quite a few brackets. It was the original brackets that were on this, and ground them nice and clean. So we're fitting this racing tank onto it. Got to make up a bar at the back here to mount this, which will just probably be a rubber band that will go around it. Still to clean up these end pieces so that the racing seat can go on that as well. So we're still on this rear hump section for the rear seat for the RD250 frame, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some slugs in. I've had to grind the side here just to clear these welds, as you'll see there, and what I'm doing is I'm making up some tubular slugs. Now sometimes I'd make these solid, but since this is going to be used as a racing bike, I've kept it as tube. But what I've had to do, if the camera picks it up, is I've had to grind two flats in it. So I'm not too sure how easy that will see. Maybe if I show you edge on, you'll see the flats, one there and one there. Now what this is, because, well, this is seam tube, so there's a seam running up it, but also the weld has actually penetrated right through the tube where they've welded it here with the machine, and similarly to the other side. So I've no option but to grind some flats to clear that. This tube goes far enough down that it will actually run into the centre of that tube and pick up the tube that I'm going to put up at the top, and that's to support it. And I'll drill some holes along this section here to keep it firmly attached in there. Welded on a fitting for the front tank. Right, just wanted to show you this. I'm drilling 3 holes in each side. As you can see, this is the underside of the frame, and I'll just turn it round. So, as I think I explained, the slugs will actually travel up. That's roughly where they're going to go to, about the middle of that cross member in the bar. So the first hole is just short of that to tie it in there, and then we've drilled holes, and I'll turn this. We've drilled holes beside the supporting bar, the bar that would normally come up to support twin shockeys. Drilled one there and one to the inside on both sides. These are about 5/16, 8mm, around about that sort of size, and we'll fill these in with welds, and obviously I'm going to run welds along some of the bits that I've ground down that aren't fully welded. So just to show you where we're actually going to be putting these holes, and that will keep the bar tied in there. Obviously they'll be fully welded the whole way around here as well when they're fitted, but just to show you where I'm drilling the holes to put the slugs, so that you've got an idea how that works. So for the rear subframe extension tubes, I've machined out the end of it a wee bit, and I've turned up a couple of fittings that are going to be welded into them, so they'll just fit as such, and this will give me a fitting right at the end of the subframe for a battery tray that he's wanting to go under the seat hump. So that's the idea for them. So basically it would look similar. This one's still not been welded either, but we'll show you them when we weld them onto the bike. And the most important bit about this is the V preparation on both surfaces. There you go, it's picked it up. You can see how there's a V, and this is important to get the weld penetration right down into the thickness of it all. And it also means you can grind it back a wee bit and it's still got a weld in there holding it. So here you can see them, I've hammered them on over the tubes. Once again you can see that there's a V on there and the other one for welding up. So we're not going to put a loop on this one, we're actually just going to brace it across here and then take a framework that goes up and underneath the hump, and then I can bolt the battery tray fittings on off of the back of these. Right, so with the progress of this RD250, I've welded on these two sections of bar with the machine fittings in them to the end of the subframe. This is you looking at the underneath of it. I've made up a bracket that fits onto there. Now this is the dimensions of the battery he gave me. It's quite a small one, with it being a 2-stroke and a kickstart, so it doesn't need a big battery. And basically this bolts on to the underneath here, and the bit I'm holding is a couple of brackets to mount the tail light and the number plate. Nice and lightweight, and that section can basically get lifted out separate of the having to take the tail unit out, and it's just tailed in with 2 bolts in there. So that's quite straightforward. I'm also going to weld another bracket across here just for maybe a rectifier and regulator type unit or whatever. But that's basically it. I'll show you a wee shot. I've also utilised the front mounting bracket. I didn't go with this wee slotted bit here, I didn't quite like that. So I've drilled through the steel that's incorporated into the fiberglass and mounted it with a couple of bolts and tacked on the nuts so that it's only a couple of fittings from the top. I'll also show you that when I spin it around later on. But that's worked out really well, nice and compact, keeping it as light as possible and also making it as practical as possible. And there you can see it with the seat unit lifted off. As I said, I've still to weld on a wee plate, but that's very rigid. I'm putting a fair amount of pressure on here, there's virtually no movement at all, and the battery will sit directly over the angle iron here, which will take all the weight, and we'll be sitting a bit of plate on, probably around here. So that's it all together. Just before I wrap it, just wanted to show you the final bit, final assembly. We've put a couple of mounting points at the back here as well, which I'll try and show you. Just turn the frame a touch. So there you go, you can see the 2 extra mounting points I've put in, and I've also welded the nuts in there as well so that there's no footering about, and it also means when the battery tray and the rear subframe bracket is on here that you can take the seat off without having to take it off. We're just removing 4 bolts, these 2 at the back and 2 at the front. So I just wanted to show you that before I wrapped it up.